Welcome back to the Crypto Picture channel, where I help you see crypto through a clear lens. Today, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin and what's going on. I know I haven't made a video in a minute. I've been pretty busy with my everyday life, so wanted to make a video here for you guys. I know it's a little bit concerning right now what we're seeing in the Bitcoin price, and I just wanted to, help you guys set some minds at ease. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. So looking at the Bitcoin price here, we've clearly seen one of the largest sell-offs on a monthly time frame. The month is not closed yet, and I do want to say I'm neither calling a top or a bear market. There is still some criteria that I need to see before I was to come out here and say, hey, we're entering a bear market. If you remember from one of my videos a few weeks, possibly even like a month ago, I did take 10% off of the table at $61,000, and it's because I realized that we are very overextended. Do I wish at this point I took more profit? Absolutely. I mean, that's just human nature. That's human psychology, guys. You're always going to feel like that. I should have done this. I should have done that. If you did, fantastic. If you didn't, it's okay. What we want to focus on now is preservation of capital. So you don't want to go selling what perceives to be obviously a waterfall effect, right? Like if you're in your position still and you didn't take profit above, I would even say 50,000, I think you're really just selling to the wolves here, if you would. I don't think that's the right call, but you have to do what is comfortable for you, right? Like if you are overextended, if you have too much money on the table at the moment, then by all means, you need to do what is comfortable for yourself as an individual. Looking at this from a monthly perspective, which it hasn't closed yet. If we do close down at these levels, first of all, it would meet a lot of my criteria, even from the weekly perspective. But we did get a little bit of a reversal candle here, which sometimes we're too euphoric to kind of see these things at those times. I did not take profits based on seeing this candle. I just took profits because I was comfortable. I had seen a significant increase in my portfolio at that time. So I figured it was best for me personally. It had nothing to do with any type of bearish looking candles or anything like that. I just felt that we were overextended on the weekly. If we do look at the weekly, technically we are still holding weekly market structure. A break of weekly market structure would essentially be close below this previous all-time high. It's very normal for assets, and we can see it on Ethereum's chart time and time again, and I'll go into Ethereum's chart briefly. We do see these massive breakouts, and then we come back and retest the previous all-time high. Now, I don't know why we didn't really get that with Bitcoin at all. Basically, this entire cycle, we did not get it. Maybe it had something to do with the hype around institutional investment and people were just pouring capital into Bitcoin. But on Ethereum, I've had this chart here for quite some time, and we broke out of our bear market, we set a new high, we came back down, we retested our previous all-time high. Here we ran on the bottom of the channel. We didn't really, go crazy, but once we started getting our run and we actually broke out of this and went and made new highs, we didn't come back and retest this obviously, but we still came back and we retested this previous local high over here. And I did have this drawn out for quite some time now in my Patreon group that I wasn't expecting it to happen this quick, so I don't want to sit here and look like a genius. I was honestly thinking that we would be playing up in this area for a little while. I did close out most of my trading Ethereum here, not my long-term holding Ethereum, but most of the Ethereum that I was trading with did get closed out up here. I did cycle it into other alts. I did assume, based on what happened over here, that we would see Ethereum kind of have a bullish consolidation, and then alts would run a little bit harder. And then with the Bitcoin dominance getting down to, these types of levels, I was expecting a reversal here, but I was thinking that Ethereum would have a bullish consolidation here prior to falling. So roughly, 30 days or so. I think we're only up here for maybe 10 days. Let's call it 13 days, 14 days, whatever that may be. So we did see a little bit quicker of a breakdown than I had initially anticipated. We did come back, or we retested the line down here that I was kind of, my little squiggly line here, but I was assuming that we would come back down and retest this pivot point, which we're pretty darn close to at this point. So we'll have to continue to monitor Ethereum. I am not going to sell these waterfall effects in my long-term holding account. It's just not going to happen. Even in my trading account, anything that wasn't closed out, I'm not going to sell this waterfall effect. I did manage to close about 30% into cash before the full effect of this waterfall. It was probably when Ethereum was around here. And then on Bitcoin, if we go into the weekly here, I did close it prior to, or at about $48,000. So the break of 48 is where I did get into a 30% cash position, even in my trading account. But if we look at the indicators here, so let's take a look here. Moving averages here. I was mentioning to my Patreons, based on market history, we've retested this 21-week moving average, and this isn't new news or anything like that. Most people are talking about this level. The one thing that I've paid attention to for a while now, and this I first heard on Alessio's channel, he's gone over the 34-week moving average multiple times, not even just in Bitcoin, not even just on this specific drop. I know he did mention it when Bitcoin did look toppy or was already coming down, but I've heard him speak about this 34-week moving average now for quite some time, and I've always kept it in my back pocket ever since he brought that up. What I'm looking at right now is, we should theoretically see a bounce here. Looking at the hash ribbons, we are close to printing a buy on the hash ribbons. Let me start with this. Do I think that we're entering a bear market? If I had a gun pointed at my head today and I had to answer the question, I would say not a macro bear market. I think there is a possibility that we see a micro bear market similar to 2013. And I talked about this numerous times on my channel a while back, that we could see this type of double topping effect. But I did mention many times that I don't think it'll be this drastic. And the reason being is because of the liquidity. Bitcoin back here had immature liquidity. Over here, we have institutional investors in current day. And I do believe that if we had the same type of liquidity that we have now, this would have been more of a rounding top rather than a spike up. This was more of a spiked top, a blow off top. I feel like if we did have the same type of liquidity, same type of volume coming into Bitcoin, this would have looked quite a bit different in my opinion. Now, we have seen these rounding tops before. We've seen them multiple times. We've seen them here, and let me just get rid of these white lines or vertical lines here. So we have seen these rounding tops. We've seen these rounding tops twice in the previous bull market, maybe not to the same extent that we saw it here, where we did have this is a quite large rounding top, right? It is a much longer time frame, which means it may take longer to resolve, right? These ones back here, we saw very short time frame rounding tops here, and they're more visible on the daily chart. This one is very visible on a weekly chart. So if you take a look here, very similar type of price action. We created a high, we came down, we created a new high, we came down, and we created a lower high. And then we went down and broke our daily structure. Here, we went up, we created a high, came back down, created a new high, and then we came back down, came back up, created a lower high again, and then we broke our daily market structure here. Now, on a weekly, we didn't break. Well, I mean, it's hard to say because there was no real local top here prior, so there's no way that you could have broke weekly market structure unless you came below this point. Even here, you would have had to break this level, and we did come down perfectly and retest it. So look at this candle here, right? And we can kind of speculate that we could see something very similar to this one, which was about a 32% drop. Right now we're at about 40%. But again, I did say that this rounding top that we have over here was quite a bit larger. And if you look right now, we basically came and touched this point, right? If I put a horizontal here, we've almost come down and perfectly touched the top of the candles here, the candle closes, the bodies. So is it possible for us to get down to 38, which we already been in the high 38s? Do we have to touch this perfectly? Not really. But I would feel comfortable enough saying that this is similar to that previous rounding top that I just showed you back in 2017, where we came, there was no real strong support, and this is basically the last support level that we had created, which was in fact our last local top. So with that being said, even if we're not going into a bear market here, even if we're not going into or continuing a macro bull market, we are going to get a relief rally of some sort. Nothing goes down in a straight line, and I like to say nothing goes up in a straight line, but you know, Bitcoin did kind of do that. So but even along the way, we got a correction here, we got a correction here, we got a bunch of green candles all going up in a row. But that was a break of a previous all-time high, so there was a lot of momentum here. This one we got 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks to the upside before seeing a correction. So if you really want to take a look at this, 2 weeks and then we had a relief rally. 2 weeks, major support level, major top, probably one of the only other major tops that we've put in this entire rally since back here, like 12 grand. I mean, you could say this is a major top, but I don't really see it like that. It's definitely a top. We did top here. This one is very significant. So to think that we're not going to just get a bounce here of any sort, I think would be a little bit immature to think that. So the game plan here would be, if this drop has made you feel like you are overexposed, what do you do? So what I personally would do, and I'm planning to probably do, is take a little bit more risk off when we get up into these levels. Now, I'm not saying that we have to go to the top of this channel. It would be great if we close this weekly candle above this bottom trend line here. This also, even though it's a rounding top, does have a head and shoulders type pattern to it. So that would take us down to about $30,000. Now, if we are in a continued bull market, bearish patterns don't usually fill 100% of the targeted price. So we can assume, and even then, most of the time, a lot of chart patterns only fill 70%. So if we're in a bear market, do I feel comfortable saying if we fill this to the 50% level, or sorry, if we're going to continue in a bull market and we fill this to a 50% level and continue higher, would I feel comfortable with that? Yeah, I would. Now, is that going to change the fact that I may think about taking 10% profit off of the table if we start, you know, getting into these 50K levels, maybe high 40s? No, I probably am going to take about 10% off of the table from my long-term holding account. My trading account is a trading account. I close it out when things are extremely bearish. I switch it over to Bitcoin when I feel like, you know, there's still maybe a little bit of an opportunity here. So what I did do is, with all my open trades, as I said, I closed 30% into cash over here around the 48K level. And now I have switched over all my trades, which were all up against Bitcoin. Let me specify that. Every single one of my trades was still in the green, upwards of 10% versus Bitcoin. So I feel comfortable switching over to Bitcoin here I've been able to increase my Bitcoin position. Obviously, the dollar values have decreased, but at the end of the day, my long-term plan is to accumulate Bitcoin if it's going to be and continue to be one of or the top performing crypto asset, or by market cap rather, not by adjusted returns. But I do feel comfortable saying that we are gonna get a bounce relatively quickly. If we go down to the daily, I'll give some more suggestions as to why. This RSI level down here is an extremely oversold levels. And I'll show you a few examples, and then I'll try to leave it at that. I don't want this video to be entirely, too long. So if we look here, oversold levels, big bounce, pandemic, end of the bear market type situation. But right here, right, oversold levels, what do we get? A bounce. And this doesn't look like much, guys, but if you were to measure it even from where the RSI level was oversold, I mean, that's still 30%. Right? And I'll show you the bear market. Let's say we are entering a bear market, theoretically, right? I'm not going to sit here and say we are or we are not entering a bear market. RSI reaches oversold levels, and we get if you were to measure it from the bottom, it's 95%, but if you were just to go from the candle body close, 85% from bottom to top, 95% from bottom to top on the wick. It keeps going. Like over here, you know, we're oversold territories, right? Here we go again. Let's not cherry pick. Let's just say we go from when we're in extreme oversold territories to the end of the pump that we had afterwards. That's still 34%, still 34%. And this isn't a bear market. So these things do help us make educated decisions. There's a reason that I switched all of my account or my trading account into Bitcoin. It's because it's in oversold territories. Even if we're entering a bear market, we're going to get a bounce. I'm not saying it's going to be 30 or 85 or 90%, but 20%, 15%. I mean, even if you can capture 10 or 15% back from this waterfall of a drop, you're still doing okay in the grand scheme of things. But I really hope that helped, guys. I hope that puts some perspective. Could I be wrong and this, just keeps dropping and just waterfalls all the way down? I mean, sure. But at the end of the day, I still think it's a wiser decision if you are trading, if you have a trading account and you didn't close it out in cash, are looking to accumulate more Bitcoin, and those altcoins are still up versus Bitcoin. Make those moves that you need to do to feel comfortable, to feel confident, and so you can come back and fight another day. With that being said, guys, the Patreon link is down below in the description. Discord link is down below in the description if you want to join the community. With that being said, see you on the next video. Cheers.